And for more on this, joining me now, Evan McMullin, independent candidate for president and somebody who has real-world, on-the-ground experience related to these issues in that region. Great to have you with us today. I want to get your immediate reaction on Syria. You know, it was 5 years ago the president said it was time for Assad to step down. It hasn't happened. And we continue to see death. We continue to see refugees by the millions streaming out. The U.S. today teaming up with Turkey to take on some action there. What do you make of it?
Well, listen, you're right. This has gone on for about over 5 years now. It's becoming a larger disaster by the week. We still don't have a comprehensive strategy to defeat ISIS and to deal with the challenges we face and the world faces in the Middle East. That's the biggest issue. This is where we need a commander-in-chief who understands naturally what to do to defeat ISIS. And we have a commander-in-chief now who isn't committed to the cause and who doesn't have a comprehensive strategy. And that's led to a lot of friction between the United States and our allies in the region, especially Turkey. They've advocated for a more comprehensive strategy, more commitment for months, for years, in fact, and we just haven't given it to them. We need it for our own security. We need it for global security.
Okay, I want to try to go a slightly lightning round-ish so we can get through as many topics with you as possible. I want to talk to you about the Clinton Foundation and the calls for a special prosecutor, somebody from the outside to take a look at it, or for just to shut down right now. What do you make of that?
Well, where I'm mostly focused on is that Hillary Clinton is trying to become the next president of the United States, and she, every day, every week, we see a new story about her corruption. I don't use that word lightly. I spent time overseas and saw real corruption in third world countries, and this reminds me of that. Hillary Clinton is unfit to be our president because she's corrupt and she doesn't believe she's accountable to the American people. Now, what should happen to her foundation and all of that, I'll have to study that further, but clearly she corruptly used her influence as Secretary of State to benefit her outside activities.
All right, so how do you respond to those who say you are helping to elect her president by hurting Mr. Trump in states where he may have a fighting chance by potentially taking some of those states away from him?
Well, I'm looking at the race holistically. Donald Trump doesn't have a chance to beat Hillary Clinton, and I urge the American people, especially those who have been supporting Donald Trump, to reconsider. He's doing terribly in national polls. He's doing terribly, even worse, in key battleground states.
But they have tightened up some in the last week where he's been more disciplined. He's been on message. He has new leadership at the top of his campaign. They would say they're most certainly not out of the hunt.
Well, in Virginia, he's 16 percentage points down. That's a battleground state that should be close, especially against a weak candidate like Hillary Clinton. Donald Trump should be challenging. Any Republican contender should be defeating Hillary Clinton in the polls regularly, and that's not happening. He's doing terribly. Yes, he's been more on message over the past week or so. We've seen that before. Eventually, he'll go off the rails again. He is not a serious candidate. I am the only conservative in this race. I want to be very clear about that. It's time for the American people, and especially for conservatives, to reevaluate where their support is, and I think to give me a chance to confront Hillary Clinton directly.
Okay, where he is the GOP nominee with millions of primary votes, he, fair and square, won that nomination, and that's where we are today. So he is a legitimate candidate for president.
I didn't say he's illegitimate. I'm saying he's not competitive. He cannot win and will not win. He's being defeated every day. It's terrible.
Okay, let's talk about him on immigration. It's something he's probably going to talk about in this speech we're watching in Tampa today. There has been a lot of attention paid to remarks he's made privately and now more publicly that seem to be a bit of an evolution for him on this, although his campaign says there's no material change in what he's been talking about. He was so hardcore on this in the primaries and just decimated some of his opponents because he thought they were too soft on this. So what do you make of his change? Is there a change?
There's clearly a change. I mean, before he talked about deportation, now he's talking about the opposite. I mean, look, this is a guy who has not been and is not honest with the American people. We can't have a president who lies to the American people in order to curry political favor, only to have to turn and make a 180-degree turn in a general election, as is the case now, in order to have a fighting chance of winning, which he doesn't. So that's what's happening here. If I were a Trump supporter, I would feel totally betrayed right now. We need leaders who will tell the truth to the American people, even when it's hard, even when it's costly politically. Donald Trump is not that guy.
All right, let's talk about your path forward because, as you know, the critics say that you're helping Hillary Clinton to win. We talked about that. She or whoever is going to win has to get to 270 electoral votes. Thinking out of Washington and out of these think tanks is that if you have a shot, what you're trying to do is to keep either one from getting to 270. She has a commanding lead in the polls when you look at the numbers that she's got. What is your path?
Well, you're right. She does have a commanding lead. It's quite incredible, and again underscores the reality that Donald Trump cannot compete with Hillary Clinton, which says a lot. She's such a weak candidate. She's a corrupt politician that can be defeated if conservatives and the rest of America can field a candidate that isn't Donald Trump. Basically, we'd have a better chance. This is the thing. We will have to compete with Hillary Clinton for certain states. We're prepared to do that. One of the biggest surprises that I've had in the 2 weeks that I've been campaigning is that I have Democrats who come in, and Bernie Sanders supporters no less, come into me saying, look, I know I don't agree with you on all the issues, all the social issues, etc., but I trust you, and I'm going to vote for you. That's what's happening in this country. The country is ready for a new generation of leadership, and that's what we are trying to provide.
All right, we will watch as you do something that's very unconventional and very late in the game, and keep track of what may be progress for you. I know you're working in a number of states to get on the ballots.
We are.
Some aren't working, but we know you've had success elsewhere. Evan McMullin, good to have you with us.
Thank you, Shannon.